On Tuesday, October 18th. Welcome to the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and if we could do roll call, that would be good.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Here.
Commissioner Starkey.
Here.
Commissioner Greeno.
Here.
Commissioner Inscore.
Here.
Chair Short.
I am here. If you would all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, off the agenda, we have one order of business, which is a last-minute item that we need to discuss. Adding it to the agenda as an emergency item, and it is an invoice for
Propane.
do I have that? We do have the propane and marine flare
yes,
item
it's
on the agenda today, Mr. Ward, but this is just the invoice for
That's correct.
the item, and needs to be paid before next meeting. So I would entertain a motion to add that to the agenda as our as an emergency item.
Chair, I move. Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Tompkins and a second by Mr. Inscore. Do we have any public comment on adding this as an emergency item?
For clarification, this will be item 1.4 under consent.
Yes. Is that good for you, Mr. Tompkins, to make that as a consent item? I agree. That's a pretty routine item. Do we have any public online today with us? Nobody online with us. Thank you. So if you would poll the vote for this emergency item.
Just to add it.
Just to add it as an emergency item, we need a 4/5 vote.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Starkey.
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore.
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno. Chair Short.
Yes.
Sorry.
And yes. Very presumptuous of you. All righty. Moving on to our general public comment item on the agenda. Any member of the public may address the Solid Waste Management Authority on any matter on or off the agenda. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes to make their comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Sal, come on up. If you would use the microphone, please.
Hi, I'm Sal. I'm the new development director, and so you're not going to be seeing so much of me, as we move forward in months. But I did want to come to this commission because the Redwood Parks Conservancy next year is starting this group of young people who are going to be working and training and developing skills. And I think we've met with some of you to talk about the idea. But they're also going to have an impact on a project that we're talking with the Transportation Commission. We met with Caltrans this morning at 10, and we talked about the special events that happen during the summer, and Tamara was saying that maybe we can collect and work and so that there's more recycling during those events and it becomes much more manageable. So that's something that they could also do. And also one thing that we want to do from the parks is work on managing and getting the little single-use propane tanks that they use, and also all the trash that comes from the parks, so that we can reduce the footprint of the visitors and the parks. And I think that's also a project. I've already talked with Ted and Kira, and so we're going to be working on those things in the near future. And yeah, that's all my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sal.
Excellent.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to our consent agenda. If I can talk. Consent agenda items, which is to approve the minutes from the regular session, Tuesday, 16th of August, 2022. Approve the payment of claim number 9368 to RCRC Environmental Services JPA in the amount of $6,000 for dues for the 2022-23 year under invoice number 159. Approve the budget transfer for fiscal year 2022-23 in the amount of $52,797. And our added item 1.4, an invoice for the payment of propane and marine flare event for the amount of $6,761.71.
I'd like to pull 1.4 for discussion.
Okay, pull 1.4. Any other items to be discussed?
I'll move to approve the rest of the consent
We have a
agenda.
motion to approve 1.1
Second.
to 1.3, and we have a second. Is there any public comment on our consent agenda items? And Commissioner Starkey, did you just have a question, or you want to pull it for a second?
No, I got some concerns on this. Number one,
Okay. All right, so
Okay.
let me go ahead and pull the authority for items 1.1, 2, and 3.
Oh, sorry. Commissioner Tompkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Starkey?
yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Chair Short?
Yes.
Okay, my concerns are, why is this an emergency item? All these are dated in August and September, so I don't know why it's just now getting to us. Two, I don't even know who Yalen is, but we got him a lot of lunches. So I'd like some explanation as to that. Normally, when we travel out of the area, then there is per diem type things. Did we not offer that at solid waste? And so, I mean, it's just like Seaquake Brewing and House of Jambalaya and Long Valley Market and Starbucks. What is all of this, and why are we paying these bills?
To the first question, this is an urgency in that we just got the bill just before the meeting. So just trying to pay the bills on time, nothing more than that. And if it was waited until the next meeting, that would be okay. But we figured as long as we had all the information, we might as well pay our contractors for the services they provide. Yao Lin is an employee of the California Product Stewardship Council. And when she was up here, she was doing some of the outreach on our behalf, as well as being at the fair. Regarding the per diem thing, that is how the Solid Waste Authority would charge if we were at a conference, but that's not necessarily how our contractors charge.
So when we entered into this contract with them, we agreed that we would pay their meals while they came to visit us.
I believe this is consistent with the agreement, yes.
Okay.
So, if I could just interject a bit of procedural concern. For an item to qualify as an emergency item, it has to come prior or after the posting of the agenda and
And require action prior to the next meeting. And the only requirement for the action is to try to pay our bills on time. That was it.
so, Mr. Black, I yield to your opinion on this as to whether it even qualified as an emergency item on our agenda today.
Questionable.
So let's err on the side of caution, perhaps? I don't know.
That being the case, I wonder if there is anybody on the authority that would entertain a motion for reconsideration on this becoming an emergency item.
Well, since that action's already been taken, it's on the agenda, I would recommend that you simply continue it to your next regular meeting.
There we go. Could you state that again so it gets recorded?
Absolutely. I move that we continue this item 1.4 to the next available meeting.
And I'll second that, and I would like just the copy of the contract, just so I can review that.
Sure.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second for tabling this item till the next meeting. I'm sorry, what?
Continue. continuing the item.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
Table.
As opposed to tabling,
Oh.
you're continuing it. Tabling is usually indefinite as opposed to a specific need.
I apologize. Yeah.
That's okay.
Used the wrong word there. So we have a motion and a second for continuing the item till the next meeting. Do we have any public comment on this item? Okay, if you would pull the vote, please.
Commissioner Tompkins?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, did you have?
Well, it's just, I'm not sure why. I don't understand why. What, I mean, by continuing it, we're just going to delay the payment. Am I getting that right? That's all we're doing?
Not wholly. I would say that we would have a little more explanation on the item that came to us at the next meeting, to more adequately,
So am I getting it right then that some of us feel that there is a question whether we should pay it at all?
I don't know that is
Do I
the
understand?
case. I think it's,
Well-
using Mr. Black's words, that it's questionable that we should make this an emergency item in the first place. It's a kind of a procedural error, in my opinion. So there wasn't adequate notice given to the public that we are going to
Okay. All right. I see.
rule on this item.
Okay.
So I would say that we were in error in making this an emergency item, and it would be more transparent, I guess, to the public to give them more prior notice that we were going to.
And staff will also take this discussion and action as indication that if a bill arrives and it's not in time to be published with the agenda, that it's on to the next meeting. It's not going to be taken as an urgency.
I mean, contractually, if we have to take action prior to the next meeting, then I think it's totally appropriate. But I agree that we all want to pay our bills on time. I get that. But in an open, public forum that we have to sit on,
Yeah.
I think it's in our best interest to do our due diligence to let the public know that we are
Yeah.
taking action on each item.
Thank you. Yeah, and that helps me understand it.
Mr. Greeno?
Not to mention, I believe it's state law.
Well, yes, there is the Brown Act to be considered, yes, I agree.
Oh, silly state law.
So, Kara, if you would pull the vote. Thank you.
Commissioner Tompkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Starkey?
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Chair Short?
Yes. Thank you very much all for the discussion. Well, that ends our consent agenda. We will move down to director's reports.
Thank you, Chair Short. So in general, the Solid Waste Management Authority continues to operate the Klamath, Gasky, and Del Norte County transfer stations and to provide required monitoring, accounting, and reports to all overseeing agencies. Staff provide these services without any financial support from the City of Crescent City or the County of Del Norte, and without receiving any taxes. Regarding facility security, I'll briefly mention that we're going to be addressing that both on under items 4.1 and in closed session when we talk about the security systems at the Del Norte County Transfer Station. Other items, we will mostly be discussing item by item within the agenda. I would mention that we also, in this last month, submitted the electronic annual report, which is a fairly large report taking significant staff time. We would have included a summary report in this agenda packet, but as this system is new to us, we'll be printing a summary at the next meeting. And then also regarding the, could I have the PowerPoint briefly? McKinsey? Okay. A brief update on the legislative season. This is the table that I showed you the last meeting, and everything got signed except for the ban of the single-use 1-pound propane containers.
Oh, that
Really?
Yeah, so I appreciate the commissioner's disappointment at that. The reason that it was proposed as a ban by the sponsoring entity, California Product Stewardship Council, is that there are already refillable propane containers that are available, and there's infrastructure for refilling those containers. We already have 4 locations in Del Norte County, thanks to Kira and our partners at CPSC, who've established those refill containers under the Refuel Your Fun campaign. And the idea was, now that we have refillables that are widely available, you can simply start phasing out and banning the sale of these single-use items. So it's disappointing that it got vetoed, but we still have a grant to promote the use of those refillable refillable propane containers, and we plan on working with Redwood National State Park so that in the coming year, as we approach that next summer camping season, we're set so that we can more aggressively promote the existence of those and the use of those, because it is an ongoing disposal problem, particularly in our parks, from our tourists who are bringing those. And I guess I should also mention, one might consider, as we talk about this, any outreach you may want us to do to the stores who are selling those single-use propane containers. Because right now, there's big pallets of those things that are available and not an item of education about how there are alternatives that are available, how these are not a good use of the resources of the Redwood National and State Parks or this community. So we'll be having further discussions about that as things move on. But it was a very busy legislative season. SB 54 will be fairly huge, as will be adding wine and distilled spirit bottles to the bottle bill, as will be the phasing out of vegetable bags at grocery stores. All of these are pretty big changes. So we'll be working our best to try to implement some of those as things come along, and we'll be informing you as those regulations get developed. Again, a refresher for the basic legislative process. Once these laws become enacted, then they are handed to the agency that will be responsible for implementing them, and then that agency goes through the development of regulations. And the regulations often flesh out many of the details that are the intentions embodied in the legislation. So in some ways, you don't really know exactly what rules you're going to have to follow until the regulations come out. Right. And paying attention to the development of regulations can be very important, because, and a good example is SB 1383, which set very ambitious methane reduction goals, but until the regulations came out, we really had no idea about all of the major changes that it was requiring local governments to make.
Is AB 1985, the delays in the enforcement for the penalties of the organic waste, is that related to SB 1385?
It is, but it's mostly related to the procurement.
Okay.
The procurement of organic products, compost, mulches, and fuels, and some of those procurement requirements are delayed.
Okay, I'll look that up. I'm interested in that.
With that, that concludes the director's report. I can move on to the financials if you'd like.
Any questions for the director from anybody? Okay, yes, if
Okay.
we would move on, thank you.
Financials, we have 1.672 in the bank plus 198,000 for the last month's rent, so that's our cash flow report. Our accounts receivable, you can see that anything over 90 days is either placed on hold or transferred over to collections, thanks to our administrative assistant, Catherine Brewer, who does a fine job. And then looking at claims approved by director, as usual, the largest amount goes to Hambro WSG for the good services they provide at the Del Norte County Transfer Station. And the next largest expenses include the payment to the auditor for the debit and credit machines, and a few payments to Dave Mason for some of the work he was doing at the landfill. Moving on to the monthly totals, and under item 2.4, you can see that our revenue continues to come in at a slightly elevated level compared to our budget. Under item 2.5, you can see that currently our revenues at the transfer station are bringing the authority $70,182 ahead of budget, and the franchise fees are currently $21,362 ahead of budget. This is common for the summer months. So at this point in time, we are $91,500 144.95, ahead of budget. So finances are looking fine. I'd be happy to answer questions.
No questions at this time. Okay. With no questions, is there any, let's see, moving on to 4.1.
4.1. So this is a report on recent thefts and vandalism at the Delaware County Transfer Station. On the morning of Tuesday, the 11th of October, staff noticed that the roof on the metal cage housing a bank of lead-acid batteries had been bent back, and 6 deep-cycle 6-volt batteries and associated cables had been removed. These batteries enable the scale house and transfer station to remain operational during times of power outage, and so this battery backup system will not be functional until repairs can be completed. Staff also noticed that the emergency fire access gate opening to Elk Valley Road was also damaged. Hambro staff were able to repair the damage to that gate, and preliminary estimates for the additional repair costs range between $4,000 and $6,000. In closed session, I'd like to discuss our current security systems, the cameras, the alarm systems, and changes that we will be making or we intend to make in response to this. But as those are security-related concerns, they're not something that I want for public discussion.
Director Ward, I might just make a suggestion, since this is listed on our agenda, and it's something that obviously is a very serious item. I think that even a simple summary of the report you just gave should be submitted into our minutes for public record.
Absolutely.
And so I'd appreciate that if you would convert what you just said and put it into a staff report and place it into the minutes for us to have.
I would be happy to do that.
Yeah, just simply an explanation of the damage that
Exactly.
happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chair, I'm going to ask for a quick bio break.
absolutely. So we'll take a break for a few minutes. Be back here in 5. Okay? Back to the agenda here for the Norte Solid Waste Management Authority. We are moving on to item 6.1, discussion and possible action regarding appointment of Mr. Tompkins as a public commissioner for a 2-year term. Do I have a motion?
I would absolutely like to make that motion that we appoint Michael Tompkins as the public commissioner for another 2 years.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And a third? And a fourth? Okay. Is there any public comment? There is no public here, so we will dispense with the public comment and take a poll vote.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Starkey.
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore.
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno,
Yes.
Chair Short.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It's a good thing you said Mike, or yes, Mike.
Bear in mind, folks, that does mean that pretty much dependable that I will be asking for a bio break almost every time.
It works for
That's
us.
the way it
We're
goes.
okay.
It won't get better.
All right.
Oh, just that.
Moving on to item 6.2, discussion and possible action regarding plans for a marine flare event at the Norte County Transfer Station, Saturday, November 5th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
So this is the first of its kind, thanks to Kira and the California Product Stewardship Council for organizing this event, but we are setting this up to take marine flares. This is a residential service somewhat similar to our household hazardous waste event, but we will receive marine flares and we will have some coupons available for reduced fees for buying new reusable non-toxic signaling devices, combination of lights and other signalings. Kira, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, this is the first one, and it's an unknown. I have had some feedback that it might not be timed right, but it's something that hopefully we can do another one next year, and we'll be able to work out some of the kinks and get as many people involved and as many of these hazardous waste materials out of the bay, and get some e-flares into people's hands that want them. We have a bunch to give out, and hopefully we'll be able to give them all out.
And the difference between the flares that you want to collect and the e-flares, could you speak to that a little bit?
So the e-flares are the electronic flares that are battery powered and testable, safe, usable by anyone without causing a hazard, and they are non-toxic, and they don't have an expiration date, unlike the pyrotechnic flares, which...
And you also have a kit of useful boating items that you're going to be giving out. You want to pass that around so people can see what's in there?
Everyone who comes out to this will be getting a kit that goes into talking about the e-flares, talking about the hazards of the pyrotechnic flares, and gives you some tips on water safety, oil spill cleanup, etc. So everyone who comes for that event will be getting one of these as well.
And, oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to ask, I'm a Coast Guard veteran. Is the Coast Guard involved in this at all?
Yes. Yes. We have a Coast Guard auxiliary, but not the Coast Guard here, and the Coast Guard is heavily involved. And,
In what way?
well, the first thing is it's all Coast Guard approved. And so they are sending out emails to people who are connected to the Coast Guard saying where these collection events are. They're supporting us 100%.
Awesome.
And you
So
meant
they're going to go out and round up all those boats and tell them they have to come over.
They better.
they get a free packet. When you say the timing, it might not be great, is that because of crab season?
Correct. It's
Okay.
a seasonal thing, and it's kinks that we'll have to work out,
Yeah,
bugs
absolutely.
that we'll have to work out.
But I think that educational material out there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so because we do get such a huge influx of crabbers, so this is, yeah, I think at the timing might be good, so.
It's the first one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we shall see.
That's what I like, yeah, that's how we learn.
But it's the first, people have been trying to do this for decades, and this is the very first one in this county, and Humboldt is able to do it at this facility too, at this time, so we're opening it up to Humboldt as well. And it'll be the first one for them, too.
So Kara, on the information here, and I used the QR code, and it looks like there's three items that are listed here, ranging in price from $61 to $250. So what free EV DSD are we going to be giving?
I'm not sure which one we're going to be getting.
And do you know how many we're going to get?
I don't know how many either. It'll be, and it is while supplies last, but I believe we're going to, with the few events that have taken place in like Alameda and other places, the first one was so minimal that we'll probably be able to get everyone, get one of these into everyone's hands who comes. So that's what I'm hoping. But we will find out also for next time how many people came, how many people will come, and that's how we learn.
I'm just a little concerned that we're advertising that's one per household as supplies last, but we are already 2 weeks into October for an event that's a little over 2 weeks away, and we don't have what we're telling people we're going to give them.
They're being driven.
Well, that's good. So they're
Yeah.
coming with somebody from the Stewardship
CPSC,
Council.
that's correct.
All right, perfect. I think it's great, and
They already have the devices, they'll bring them.
Chair Short just mentioned, and I don't think timing's going to be bad at all. If it was December, I would agree timing is going to be bad because people will all already be geared up for crab, but people are getting their gear ready. And I think it's a great time, actually, in November, while everybody's thinking safety, getting the boats equipped, checking everything.
Winterizing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's awesome.
So for the record, I really want to
I hope so.
applaud Kira for the work she's done here,
100%.
and for putting us on the map like that.
Yep, you did a great job on all of this.
Thank you, guys.
Good deal.
Very good, yes, it's basically a fireworks collection event, for real.
Right?
Yeah,
Yep,
so, thank you, Kira, for
we'll take
that.
those two.
It'll be more disposed.
All right, moving on to item 6.2, discussion and possible action regarding, oh, wait a minute, that's what we just did. I'm sorry, 6.3, discussion and possible action regarding the status of plans for Caltrans Clean California free bulky item dump day at the Delaware County Transfer Station. We have a date,
We
November
do.
12th.
The next Saturday after the Marine Flare event, we're going to have the circus come to town. In that we're having a free bulky item dump day, meaning that people can bring in appliances, tires, mattresses, bulky items, bulky furniture, refrigerators to the Delaware County Transfer Station, and we'll take up to 6 of those for no charge. If you have just mattresses, however, we suggest that you go to Humboldt Moving and Storage that Saturday between 9 and 1, because they will take up to 6 mattresses for no charge and they will recycle those. If you bring your mattresses as part of the bulky item dump days to the transfer station, I can't promise those mattresses will be recycled because we'll be handling a whole bunch of material that day. But the idea is that customers will be allowed, if they are participating in the bulky item dump day and they're in line by 1 o'clock, we will try to serve them by the end of the day. So the idea is we're limiting the hours so that people can get in line, and then we'll move people through. Folks who are participating in the bulky item dump day will not be weighed, so they're not going to be going over the scale. The traffic will be routed somewhat like the household hazardous waste event, and that it'll be going around the outside, and then they'll be unloading in this area here into dumpsters that we're currently thinking may be here, but that we're still going to have a site visit tomorrow and see whether or not that makes sense. But this is currently the plan.
That's the area of, usually the brush?
It's the grass, well, the brush is here, and this is the grassy area.
Oh,
The
gotcha.
question about that is really how much rain we've had and how much risk there is in moving those roll-offs on and off the grass. But those are details yet to be worked out, but this is the current plan, and you can see the basic concept is we're separating out the event traffic from the rest of the customer traffic, because we are planning to be open for our regular services that day.
Wow, okay. That's going to be amazing, but also, wow.
Well, we've been working with Caltrans closely on this, and for what it's, so some
I
of
know, I
our
wanna get
basic
up.
objectives are, we are not going to spill out traffic onto Elk Valley Road.
Oh,
It's
okay.
all going to stay on State Street or in the transfer station. There will be signage and traffic management along State Street and out to Elk Valley Road will be from Caltrans, and then inside the transfer station, that's all going to be authority staff. And then, of course, Hambro and Recology will be in support roles, making sure that everything runs as smoothly as it can. This is the first time we've done one of these, so I'm not entirely sure what to expect, meaning the first time we've done one in Crescent City. But true for all of these events, this is the last one we have planned.
Yeah.
So if you want to participate in this free bulky item dump day, the day is Saturday, November 12th from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. We're not planning another one of these. Do not stockpile things thinking there's going to be another one. We are not planning one. So, but Saturday, November 12th, you can bring in up to 6 bulky items for no charge. If you have mattresses, go to Humboldt Moving and Storage. If you have tires, you can bring up to 9 tires in a single load. Beyond 9 tires, CHP can give you a ticket because there's special rules about hauling tires, and you just can't haul more than 9 tires without being at risk. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the authority members?
Do you have enough help?
Almost certainly no, but we're going to do the best we can.
All right. I can offer up my help in the morning.
Okay, well, thank you. I hope I don't have to take you up on that, but thank you for the offer.
Well, very good. And with that, we have come to the end of our open session of the Stellar Solid Waste Management Authority. We'll be moving into closed session at this time.
Chair, can I ask something before we do that?
No.
For consideration for the next agenda.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Ted and I briefly touched upon it. The Yurok tribe has expressed an interest in either partnering with us to have the Klamath Station open more frequently, or they had other ideas as well. I'd just like that to be something that we could have on the agenda in the future to discuss, some compromise or something that perhaps we could work out so we could provide more services down in the Klamath area on more days.
Okay?
I think that if we have consensus, and it looks like we certainly do have consensus with the board, if you would include that on a future agenda, Mr. Ward,
Yes, sir.
that would be outstanding. If I'm not mistaken, we don't plan on having anything to report out of closed session.
It doesn't look like it.
I don't believe that we will, so we will see you all again at the next regularly scheduled meeting at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, November 22nd. We will move into closed session.